No sooner had Lu Ji finished speaking than a group of Lu family elders began to chime in, giving Duan Ling Tian no chance to refuse, even though he hadn't yet had the opportunity to do so. At the same time, Lu Rui, the Lu family patriarch, and two other guardian elders of the Lu family all looked at him with anticipation. How could he refuse then? Of course, if he had truly set his mind on refusing, he could have still done so. But the thought of receiving benefits from the Lu family in the future made him dismiss the idea of refusing. Then I'll join in the fun. Following this, Duan Ling Tian nodded and agreed. For him, being the chief judge of the Lu family's alchemist grand competition didn't put any pressure on him. Moreover, it allowed him to observe the methods of a group of alchemists up close. Although he himself had never seriously delved into the art of alchemy, the memories of the reincarnation Martial Emperor related to alchemy were already enough for him to roam freely on the cloud-soaring continent. One must know that the reincarnation Martial Emperor back then was a royal-grade alchemist, surpassing even first-grade alchemists. As someone who had integrated the memories of a royal-grade alchemist, it was no difficulty for Duan Ling Tian to appraise the alchemy skills of a group of 5th and 6th grade alchemists. Duan Ling Tian initially wanted to refuse simply because he feared trouble. However, even if he feared trouble now, he had no choice but to proceed. As the saying goes, one who eats from others speaks softly, and one who takes from others has short hands. Although he hadn't yet received any benefits from the Lu family, he would certainly be receiving them in the future, because that was his primary purpose for joining the Lu family. Stop! Suddenly, a sharp shout entered Duan Ling Tian's ears, startling him and making him look towards the person who had shouted. Lu Bai. Soon, Duan Ling Tian realized that the person who had shouted was Lu Bai, the second young master of the Lu family. Lu Bai was shouting at 3 middle-aged men who were stealthily trying to leave. As Duan Ling Tian followed Lu Bai's gaze and saw these 3 men, he recognized them at a glance. These 3 men were none other than the 3 middle-aged men who had, outside the Lu family, spoken blasphemously about Feng Tianwu, who lay in the ice coffin and had been injured by his shockwave. Later, these 3 men sought revenge, and the green-clad middle-aged man among them colluded with Lu Zhao, an elder of the Lu family and a judge for this alchemy competition, to try and expel him. Unfortunately, they did not succeed. In fact, even Lu Zhao eventually died by his hand. After that, Duan Ling Tian didn't bother with these 3 men. Of course, he was also busy dealing with Lu Huai, the 3rd young master of the Lu family, so he didn't have time to pay attention to them. Now, everything was settled, and he had successfully become an elder guest of the Lu family. The 3 middle-aged men, seeing his rise to power, clearly wanted to leave. But was there such a good thing in the world? Duan Ling Tian's gaze towards the 3 middle-aged men flickered with cold light, and his expression darkened slightly. As Lu Bai's sharp shout drew the attention of everyone present, including Duan Ling Tian, towards the 3 men, their bodies froze, as if turning into statues. Lord Duan Ling Tian, spare us. Soon, one of them turned around, knelt on the ground with a thud, and kowtowed, begging Duan Ling Tian for mercy. Lord Duan Ling Tian, spare us. This has nothing to do with me. Another also knelt and kowtowed. Now, only the green-clad middle-aged man remained, turned around and standing there, staring hatefully at Duan Ling Tian, the killer of his uncle. Elder Duan, how can your dog eyes glare at him? In an instant, a sharp shout rang out. Immediately after, Duan Ling Tian felt a gust of wind pass by him. Clearly someone streaking past him at a speed that left him somewhat unable to react. Boom. When he reacted, the first thing he heard was a loud bang. Immediately after, he noticed that where the green-clad middle-aged man had just been standing, there was now a figure that looked exactly like a bamboo pole. It was Lu Gui, one of the Lu family's 3 great guardian elders. In the air not far in front of Lu Gui, a mist of blood dispersed, and the green-clad middle-aged man was nowhere to be seen. Duan Ling Tian understood. That green-clad middle-aged man was now dead, blasted apart by Lu Gui's power, and the blood mist filling the sky was what remained after his body exploded. Lu Gui, a guardian elder of the Lu family, a martial emperor expert. He killed the green-clad, middle-aged man with no effort, not even giving the power of heaven and earth a chance to appear before the green-clad, middle-aged man was gone, completely vanishing from this world. Lord Duan Ling Tian, spare us. Lord Duan Ling Tian, spare us. Elder Gui, spare us. Elder Gui, spare us. The remaining two middle-aged men, seeing their companion disappear just like that, their faces changed dramatically, their eyes filled with terror as they fiercely kowtowed and begged for mercy. Before long, their heads were bleeding. Elder Duan, how should they be dealt with? Lu Gui turned around, looked at Duan Ling Tian, and forced a smile onto his face. However, with his gaunt, bony cheeks, his smile looked even worse than a cry. Whatever. Duan Ling Tian shrugged, saying with an indifferent expression. At the same time, he withdrew his gaze, no longer looking at the two middle-aged men, directly treating them as air and ignoring them. Lu Gui paused, then looked at Lu Rue, the Lu family patriarch. Those who offend Elder Duan have no need to live in this world, Lu Rue said, his tone calm and devoid of any emotion. No sooner had Lu Rue finished speaking than the two middle-aged men kneeling on the ground trembled and suddenly looked up, their faces changing dramatically. Boom. Almost at the instant they looked up, a loud bang spread, deafening like thunder. Under the watchful eyes of all, they followed in the footsteps of the green-clad middle-aged man, turning into a mist of blood that completely vanished from this world. Hiss, 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 hiss. For a moment, most of the alchemists present for the Alchemist Grand Competition couldn't help but gasp in cold air. Their gazes, as they looked at Duan Ling Tian again, were filled with awe. This Elder Duan, after joining the Lu family, his status in the Lu family is clearly even above that of the Lu family patriarch. Someone couldn't help but exclaim, "This is normal. After all, he is a first-grade alchemist." Some people must be regretting it terribly now, right? Many people whispered, and some of their gazes unconsciously fell upon a middle-aged man not far away. The middle-aged man stood there, his face grim. I remember this person. He was talking very cordially with Duan Ling Tian earlier, seemingly becoming friends. However, when Duan Ling Tian was targeted by that Lu family elder, Lu Zhao, he avoided Duan Ling Tian as if he were avoiding a plague god. I remember him too. At that time, he even said he didn't know Duan Ling Tian. Yet, in a blink of an eye, Duan Ling Tian revealed his identity as a first-grade alchemist and soared to great heights. If he hadn't acted that way, perhaps he would have risen along with Duan Ling Tian. This is fate. Some people don't lack opportunities, but because they fail to seize them, they can only sigh with regret in the end. More and more people discussed, and their gazes towards the middle-aged man clearly showed a hint of pity, with some even looking gleeful. The middle-aged man was none other than Huang Chun. Huang Chun stood there, the waves of discussion from around him piercing his ears like sharp needles, causing his body to tremble uncontrollably. These discussions were undoubtedly tearing open his wounds. His heart was already filled with remorse, and hearing these people's taunts was like adding fuel to the fire, making him regret even more deeply. Why did I do that? If I hadn't done that, I might have been able to join the Lu family and become a Lu family disciple without even participating in the Alchemist Grand Competition. While regretting, his heart was also filled with self-reproach. Whoosh! Finally, he could no longer bear it, soared into the air, and disappeared from everyone's sight in a flash. Clearly, he no longer wanted to continue participating in the Alchemist Grand Competition. Huang Chun's departure was seen by Duan Ling Tian, but he showed no emotional fluctuation. Earlier, Huang Chun abandoning him for self-preservation was understandable. But Huang Chun later claimed not to know him. The moment Huang Chun said that, he considered that he had never known Huang Chun, so even if Huang Chun left, he felt no emotional fluctuation. The Alchemist Grand Competition begins. As Lu So let out a soft cry, everyone present snapped back to attention, ceasing their discussions about the recently departed Huang Chun. It's starting. In the Lu family's past history of Alchemist Grand Competitions, it seems a first-grade alchemist has never served as a judge. Today, even if I get eliminated, it won't be a wasted trip. Being eliminated by a first-grade alchemist, even if you tell others, it's enough to make them envious, jealous, and hateful. A group of alchemists discussed animatedly, their words filled with excitement. Hearing these discussions, Duan Ling Tian was somewhat speechless. As for the high-ranking officials of the Lu family, they could all understand this, because even if they stood in the shoes of the alchemists participating in the Alchemist Grand Competition, they would think the same way. Soon, the Alchemist Grand Competition began. The Alchemist Grand Competition was divided into preliminary rounds, semifinals, and finals. The preliminary rounds eliminated half the participants. The semifinals eliminated the remaining 30 people, who were then eligible to join the Lu family. The finals determined the specific rankings of the 30 people and awarded them prizes from the Lu family. In the Alchemist Grand Competition, whether it was the preliminary rounds, semifinals, or finals, all participants refined the same elixir, and then Duan Ling Tian, as the chief judge, personally inspected them. In terms of inspection, in past Alchemist Grand Competitions held by the Lu family, only purity was examined. However, Duan Ling Tian did more than that. Besides examining the purity of the elixirs refined by the group, he also discerned the subtleties of their techniques from the elixirs, thereby determining who was more outstanding. Initially, during the preliminary rounds, there was nothing wrong with Duan Ling Tian doing this. However, by the semifinals, some people became unconvinced. Elder Duan, the purity of his refined elixir is clearly not as good as mine, so why can he advance while I have to be eliminated? An alchemist pointed at another alchemist beside him, looking at Duan Ling Tian with an unconvinced expression. As soon as this alchemist challenged Duan Ling Tian, the whole arena erupted in an uproar. Someone dared to question a first-grade alchemist great master? Including Xiong Quan, every gaze swung toward Duan Ling Tian, then down to the two identical-looking pills on the table between the two alchemists. His pill's purity really is higher. Why did Elder Duan eliminate him and let the other man advance? The competing alchemists were all deeply puzzled. What's going on? They weren't the only ones. Even the Lu family members led by Lu family head, Lu Rue, wore baffled expressions. Some of them weren't alchemists, but growing up in an alchemist family, they could still judge a pill's purity. They could see it. The pill refined by the alchemist who challenged Duan Ling Tian really was purer. Elder Duan, in terms of purity, I truly fall short of him. The alchemist Duan Ling Tian had allowed to advance gave a wry smile, speaking with honest self-knowledge. His words made the challenger even smugger. Elder Duan, I know you're a first-grade alchemist and far above me in skill, but your eyesight seems. Seems what? Duan Ling Tian cut him off with a cool glance. You think higher purity means your alchemy skill is stronger? Or is the Lu family's alchemist competition only comparing purity, not actual skill? As he spoke, he looked toward Lu Rue and the rest of the Lu family, clearly querying them. When refining the same pill, purity naturally gauges skill. What else could we use? The interrupted alchemist replied matter-of-factly. Do you all think so too? Duan Lingtian's gaze swept across the surrounding competitors, then over the Lu family group. He soon had his answer. Both the contestants and the Lu family members nodded. Clearly they agreed. If Elder Duan has another way to judge alchemy skill, we'd love to hear it. Perhaps you'll surprise us. Lu Rue declared in a resonant voice. He said this because he saw absolute confidence in Duan Lingtian's eyes and instinctively believed the man had an alternative method. With Lu Rue's words, Duan Lingtian became the center of every eye. Young master. Even Xiong Quan now watched Duan Lingtian expectantly. He believed his young master would have a way. It seems I'll have to give you all a proper lesson today. Duan Lingtian withdrew his roaming gaze and spoke calmly. Had anyone else said it, they'd have been torn to shreds before the sentence finished. But coming from Duan Lingtian, they couldn't help half believing and half anticipating what he'd say next. Yet they soon realized he had no intention of explaining outright. You too, refine that pill once more. This time I'll teach you a little trick. It can raise the purity of your pill by a fair margin. Duan Lingtian turned back to the two alchemists beside him and said indifferently, when you refine in a moment. He then openly revealed his little trick to everyone present, apparently unconcerned about disclosing it in public. His words rang clearly in every ear. Press a palm on the medicine cauldron and, as the pill emerges, let pill fire shoot out to form a barrier the pill must pass through. That was the trick he described. To Duan Lingtian, it was trivial, yet to the other alchemists, it was startlingly novel. Fine, I'll refine again using Elder Duan's trick. If my purity still beats his, what then? The unconvinced alchemist asked. If you still win, he's out and you're through. Duan Lingtian answered casually, his gaze calm, as if he never doubted the outcome. Elder Duan has such faith in me. The other alchemist's heart shook. His expression turned grave and earnest. He drew a deep breath. Elder Duan, I won't let you down. No need to tense up, just keep your previous standard, and remember the little trick. The purity boost isn't huge, but varies by individual. Duan Lingtian said. Yes, sir. The alchemist nodded solemnly. Begin. Duan Lingtian added. Instantly, both alchemists braced themselves and set to work. This time, every eye in the hall was on them. The pressure spiked, yet each burned to outdo the other and advance. Advance, and they could join the Liu family as an external member. Time slipped quietly by. An hour passed in a breath. Smack! The alchemist whose previous pill had been less pure struck the cauldron first, catapulting the newly formed pill into the air. All the while he kept Duan Lingtian's tip in mind, letting pill fire gush from his palm to form a barrier over the cauldron mouth. Whoosh! The pill shot through the curtain of fire and landed neatly in his hand. Pill complete. Smack! The second alchemist, whose earlier pill had been purer and who had disputed Duan Lingtian's ruling, now also finished and ejected his pill. Two identical pills hovered in the air. Yet the moment each alchemist glanced at his own pill, then at the others, their pupils shrank and undisguised shock swept across their faces. Impossible. No, this can't be real. The dissenting alchemist went deathly pale, shaking his head in refusal to accept what he saw. His pill's purity had risen by less than 0.5%. His rivals had soared by nearly a full 10%. 10%. What did that mean? He had been utterly crushed. Miraculous. The other alchemist's eyes blazed, stunned that the same trick could yield such a leap in purity. The very same tip had boosted his pill by nearly 10%, while his opponents had gained less than half of that. No way. You must have secretly taught him another trick. Has to be. He jabbed a finger at Duan Lingtian, face twisted with resentment. I taught him another trick? Duan Lingtian laughed without warning, the smile soon chilling. Would you like the others to test it too? One by one, the remaining semi-final alchemists tried the little trick. When their pills were done, they discovered something bizarre. Some saw purity climb by less than 0.5%, others by more than 10%, using the very same method. Now, do you still think I gave him a secret extra trick? Duan Lingtian asked the disgruntled alchemian, voice flat and emotionless. The man's face turned livid, but he held his tongue. He knew he'd jumped to conclusions. Why then? Still unwilling to accept it, he pressed, scowling at Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian knew exactly what he wanted to ask. So did the Liu family head and every other alchemist nearby. All stared in puzzlement. Clearly, they all craved the answer. Because of the pill fire, under countless eyes, Duan Lingtian gave his reply. It caught everyone off guard. The problem lies in the pill fire? That can't be. I'm a 5th-grade alchemist with 5th-grade pill fire, yet my gain was under 0.5%. I'm only 6th grade, my fire weaker than yours, but my purity jumped a full 10%. What's going on? The alchemists were thoroughly bewildered. Some 6th-grade alchemists had out-improved 5th-grade ones, while others lagged behind. It's not the grade of the fire, but its purity. Hasty alchemists often produce coarse, low-purity flames. Those who take their time cultivate finer, far purer pill fire. With my tip, the former see a big leap, the latter, a smaller one. Duan Lingtian explained patiently to the curious crowd. A hush fell as everyone pondered. Elder Duan truly deserves the title 1st-grade alchemist to spot such a subtle trick. Many sighed in admiration. Now, do you still have any doubts? Duan Lingtian looked at the alchemist who had doubted him and asked calmly. If pill fire were not used for final refinement, this alchemist's medicinal pill would indeed be purer than the other ones. However, once pill fire was employed for refinement, the exact opposite became true. From the very beginning of today's alchemist competition, Duan Lingtian had not judged the alchemist's skills solely by the purity of their medicinal pills. In addition to the pill's purity, he also examined the purity of the pill fire. The higher the purity of an alchemist's pill fire, the greater their potential. He had learned this from the memories of the reincarnation Martial Emperor. Confronted by Duan Lingtian's question, the unconvinced alchemist flushed with shame. He gave Duan Lingtian an apologetic nod and flew off dispiritedly. Thank you, Elder Duan. Meanwhile, the other alchemist was elated. He had actually passed the semi-finals and secured a place in the finals, becoming an external member of the Lu family. Anyone who advanced from the semi-finals of the alchemist competition into the finals was virtually guaranteed a place in the Lu family. There's no need to thank me. Your alchemy skills are solid. With your talent, as long as you keep working hard, becoming a third-grade alchemist will be well within reach. Duan Lingtian shook his head as he spoke. A third-grade alchemist? Can I really? The alchemist asked, his face alight with excitement. He was currently only a sixth-grade alchemist. The thought of ever becoming a third-grade alchemist was something he hadn't dared to imagine. That depends on how hard you're willing to work. For now, step down and wait for the finals. Duan Lingtian said. Yes, sir. Upon hearing this, the alchemist respectfully withdrew. At the same time, the gazes being cast toward Duan Lingtian from all around grew ever more reverent. This was a first-grade alchemist. With just a few words, he had turned the tables for an alchemist who had been at a disadvantage, letting him pass the semi-finals and advance to the finals. No wonder our ancestors' notes say, there are no mediocre first-grade alchemists. It seems to be true. An Lu family elder exclaimed. Duan Lingtian's methods had completely won him over. Of course, whoever becomes a first-grade alchemist isn't someone whose brilliance in the Tao of alchemy could be called peerless. Another Lu family elder remarked. Regardless, Duan Lingtian's actions moments ago left the alchemists participating in the alchemist competition utterly convinced, while also subduing every member of the Lu family led by the family head, Lu Rui. After that display, no one dared to question him again. The semifinals of the alchemist competition concluded smoothly, leaving only the 30 most outstanding alchemists. Yet most of those eliminated did not leave. Instead, they waited with great interest for the upcoming finals. To them, this was undoubtedly an excellent learning opportunity. Such a scene of so many outstanding alchemists refining together was rare. Perhaps they could gain inspiration from one of them and advance their own attainments in the Tao of alchemy. The finals arrived as scheduled. The 30 prospective external members of the Lu family took their places one after another. Duan Lingtian, serving as chief referee, patrolled the arena. With a first-grade alchemist like Duan Lingtian overseeing the event, the other judges, including Lu So, wisely kept their distance, watching from afar so as not to disturb him. As time passed, the 30 alchemists began refining their medicinal pills. Duan Lingtian offered each alchemist a critique, some long, some short, yet every comment left them utterly convinced. Throughout his critiques, the breadth of knowledge Duan Lingtian displayed concerning the Tao of alchemy stunned everyone once again. It seems our Lu family has truly struck gold this time. An ordinary first-grade alchemist wouldn't even be fit to tie Elder Duan's shoes when it comes to theory. Lu Rui, the Lu family head himself a second-grade alchemist, could hardly contain his excitement after witnessing Duan Lingtian's erudition. His murmured words reached the ears of every member of the Lu family, leaving them dumbstruck. Family head, do you mean that even Guild Master Chung of our Southern Outer Land Alchemist Guild headquarters can't match Elder Duan in theory? Lu Yuan's small eyes widened, his plump face showing shock. I've sought guidance from Guild Master Chung several times. Though he too is a first-grade alchemist, his grasp of the Tao of alchemy is far less incisive than Elder Duan's. This was Lu Rui's conclusion after comparing the two. For a moment, The entire Lu family fell into dead silence. They all knew who the family head meant by Guild Master Chung. He was the president of the Southern Outer Land Alchemist Guild headquarters on the Yunshao continent, a revered first-grade alchemist. The Yunshao continent is divided into inland and outer land by the Weakwater River. The Biling land where their Lu family resided lay within the continent's southern outer land, a region known as the Southern Outer Land. To put it simply, whether it was the Great Han Dynasty where Duan Lingtian first appeared or the Northern Desert region, both belonged to the Southern Outer Land. In the past, I always believed that only Guild Master Chung was a first-grade alchemist in our generation in the Southern Outer Land. Now it seems that's not the case. Indeed, it turns out that within our Southern Outer Land, there's another first-grade alchemist as prodigious as Elder Duan. In terms of age, Elder Duan is far younger than Guild Master Chung. Young in years, yet his alchemy skill is not the least bit inferior. Even the family head, who once exchanged pointers with Guild Master Chung, now feels that Guild Master Chung can't match Elder Duan. A group of Lu family elders whispered among themselves, and soon their eyes converged on the distant purple-robed figure. To them, that young man now seemed even more unfathomable. Duan Lingtian. A broad smile never left Lu Bai's face. Ever since Duan Lingtian revealed his identity as a first-grade alchemist, surprise had given way to nothing but joy. He had never imagined. Not long ago, he had feared Duan Lingtian would be executed by the Lu family. Yet in the blink of an eye, the young man had soared to prominence and become the most welcomed person in the family. Family head, since you hold Elder Duan in such high regard, if he were to guide you, would you have confidence in striving for first-grade alchemist? Lu Ji, the Lu family's protector elder, looked toward Lu Rue and asked with utmost gravity. Lu Rue, the Lu family head, had displayed exceptional alchemy talent since childhood and was acknowledged by the Lu family as the person most likely to become a first-grade alchemist in the past century. There's a chance. Lu Rue's eyes flashed, anticipation surfaced on his face, and his pupils sparkled. Hiss, 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 hiss. Lu Rue's words naturally drew a chorus of sharp intakes of breath. Including the three great protector's elders, every senior member of the Lu family gasped in unison. Lu Rue's reply had utterly shocked them. When they looked toward Duan Lingtian again, their eyes shone. It was as if they were gazing not at a person but at a peerless work of art, something one could easily lose oneself admiring. However, Duan Lingtian was at that moment evaluating the alchemists who had entered the finals of the alchemist competition and didn't notice those stares. Before long, he produced a ranked list of 30 alchemists. None of the 30 alchemists voiced any objection to this ranking. Elder Lu So, I'll leave the rest to you. With that, Duan Lingtian returned to Xiong Quan's side and spoke to Lu So. Lu So hastily acknowledged the order, not daring to delay, and turned to the 30 alchemists, ready to announce the rewards the Lu family had previously set. But before Lu So could speak, someone could not help asking, I wonder whether the top 3 in this alchemist competition might receive guidance from Elder Duan? According to rewards established by the Lu family in the past, those placing in the top 3 of the alchemist competition could obtain guidance from a second-grade alchemist of the family. Today, the family had gained a guest elder who was a first-grade alchemist of vast knowledge in alchemy, stirring the hearts of the top 3 finishers. The one who asked was precisely the alchemist who had placed second in the competition. Too much greed is never a good thing. Lu So gave the alchemist a deep look, but did not give an immediate answer. Instead, he turned toward family head Lu Rue. Elder Duan must be weary from his long journey. Lu Bai, escort Elder Duan and his companion to rest. Lu Rue, seemingly unaware of Lu So's gaze, simply instructed Lu Bai. Yes. Lu Bai answered respectfully, then looked toward Duan Lingtian and Xiong Quan. Xiong Quan, let's go. Duan Lingtian called to Xiong Quan, lifted the ice coffin, and followed Lu Bai as they departed, nodding and smiling at the Lu family seniors in farewell. Every senior member of the Lu family, from the family head and the 3 great protectors' elders downward, returned the smile respectfully, not daring to slight him. To them now, this Elder Duan was a treasure, a treasure that might very well help their family produce another first-grade alchemist. Duan Lingtian's departure left the top 3 finishers of the alchemist competition greatly disappointed. After joining the Lu family, strive hard and strive to stand out. Then there may yet be a chance to receive Elder Duan's guidance. At this point, Lu Rue looked toward the 30 prospective non-family disciples and spoke calmly. Lu Rue's words made the 30 brighten with anticipation. The Lu family seniors, however, knew full well, given Elder Duan's level of alchemy, enough to guide their family head, even the family's other second-grade alchemists would probably fight tooth and nail for a chance to seek his counsel. Besides those few second-grade alchemists, the family also had a group of third-grade alchemists. For these newly joined little fellows to obtain Elder Duan's guidance would be harder than climbing to the heavens. As they were about to enter the Lu family mansion, Lu Bo's gaze inadvertently swept over the ice coffin beside Duan Ling Tian, seeing the face of the woman lying inside for the first time. He had a deep impression of this woman in red. She was the woman who was with Duan Ling Tian and his benefactor when he was almost killed. At that time, he had even been startled by the woman's stunning beauty. Because even in the North Tomb land, he had never seen a woman with such an outstanding appearance. She is the daughter of the person who saved you back then. Duan Ling Tian looked at Feng Tianwu inside the ice coffin, his eyes filled with tender affection. My benefactor's daughter? Lu Bo's expression changed slightly. What happened to her? At this moment, Lu Bo began to carefully examine Feng Tianwu lying in the ice coffin. Soon, he noticed a vibrant vitality within her body. Is she in a deep sleep? Her soul was injured, and she's in a coma. Duan Ling Tian sighed. Lu Bo nodded with a solemn expression, seemingly understanding, yet not fully. Young master. At this moment, Xiong Quan, who was accompanying Duan Ling Tian, respectfully said to him, I heard you say before that as long as we find some rare heavenly materials and earthly treasures, Miss Tianwu can wake up again. The Lu family has been passed down for 10,000 years. Perhaps they have heavenly materials and earthly treasures that can awaken Miss Tianwu. After Xiong Quan finished speaking in one breath, his eyes fixed on Lu Bo with fervent anticipation. Xiong Quan's words made Duan Ling Tian's body tremble slightly. That's right. How could he not have thought of this? The Lu family was a clan that had been passed down for 10,000 years. On the Cloud Continent, the forces that could be passed down for 10,000 years, apart from the 2 ancient clans standing at the peak of the Cloud Continent, were few and far between. Of course, Duan Ling Tian knew in his heart that the reason he hadn't thought of this was because he had a preconceived notion. Through the memories of the Rebirth Martial Emperor, he knew that those heavenly materials and earthly treasures were extremely rare, so much so that they were seldom seen even across the entire Cloud Continent, and were not even found in the great treasure trove left behind by the Rebirth Martial Emperor. Because of this, he subconsciously believed that those heavenly materials and earthly treasures, which might not even be found in the inner land, could not possibly appear in the outer land. Lu Bo, does your Lu family have soul-solidifying root and soul-stabilizing grass in your collection? Duan Ling Tian looked at Lu Bo, asking with an urgent expression. Although he wasn't sure if the Lu family had these 2 heavenly materials and earthly treasures that could help Feng Tianwu repair her soul, he still decided to ask, not wanting to miss any opportunity. After all, the Lu family had been passed down for 10,000 years. It was possible they had these 2 heavenly materials and earthly treasures in their collection. Soul-solidifying root, soul-stabilizing grass. However, upon hearing Duan Ling Tian's question, Lu Bo shook his head. This is the first time I've heard of these 2 things. How about this? I'll arrange for you to stay first. After you've rested, I'll go with you to see the patriarch. Perhaps the patriarch knows. Lu Bo suggested. Okay. Duan Ling Tian nodded, a hint of hope in his eyes. If the Lu family truly had soul-solidifying root and soul-stabilizing grass, he could concoct a medicinal liquid to help Tianwu repair her injured soul in one go and awaken her again. Now, I just hope my luck is really that good. Duan Ling Tian thought to himself. Both the soul-solidifying root and the soul-stabilizing grass were extremely rare, heavenly materials and earthly treasures on the Cloud Continent. Even the Rebirth Martial Emperor back then had only seen them a few times. Soon, under Lu Bo's guidance, Duan Ling Tian and Xiong Quan arrived at the eastern building complex of the Lu family mansion, reaching the entrance of a grand mansion within a mansion. Second young master. Outside the spacious mansion, a beautiful maid stood there, respectfully bowing to Lu Bo. "Hmm." Lu Bo nodded to the maid, then said seriously, "From today onwards, Elder Duan will be staying here. Later, I'll arrange for a few more people to come over. You must serve Elder Duan well. If you displease Elder Duan and the patriarch blames you, even I won't be able to bear the responsibility. Do you understand?" It must be said that Lu Bo's words frightened the maid standing at the mansion gate. Elder Duan. Immediately after, the maid's gaze swept over Duan Ling Tian and Xiong Quan, finally landing on Xiong Quan. In her opinion, the older one looked more like an elder. "Then I won't disturb your rest." Lu Bo nodded and smiled at Duan Ling Tian and Xiong Quan, then added, "Once you've rested, have her come find me at my residence." "All right." Duan Ling Tian and Xiong Quan nodded. After Lu Bo left, the maid breathed a sigh of relief, then looked at Xiong Quan with a slight smile. "Hello, Elder Duan. My name is Xiao Yun, and I'll be responsible for your daily life from now on." Xiong Quan was greatly embarrassed and said somewhat awkwardly, "Girl, you've got it wrong. My young master is Elder Duan." As Xiong Quan spoke, he glanced at Duan Ling Tian. "Ah." The maid Xiao Yun was startled. Then she re-examined Duan Ling Tian, her pretty face filled with disbelief, and she murmured, You're really Elder Duan? What? Doesn't look like it." Duan Ling Tian was also amused by the maid Xiao Yun and asked jokingly, No, Elder Duan, I just find it a bit unbelievable. Our Lu family has never had an elder as young as you." The maid Xiao Yun hurriedly said, and as she spoke, her autumn eyes widened with curiosity, further scrutinizing Duan Ling Tian. She seemed to want to figure out what was different about Duan Ling Tian, and how he could become an elder of their Lu family at such a young age, and an outer elder at that. Although she was just a maid, she knew some things about the Lu family very clearly. Outer disciples of the Lu family, unless they possessed great ability, could not possibly become outer elders. "Elder Duan, please come in." Soon, the maid Xiao Yun came back to her senses and welcomed Duan Ling Tian into the mansion behind her, arranging a spacious room for him. This room was very large, fully furnished, and was the master bedroom of the mansion. Boom! With a wave of Duan Ling Tian's hand, the ice coffin followed him into the room, landing steadily on a table inside. So beautiful. The maid Xiao Yun had noticed the ice coffin moving with Duan Ling Tian earlier, but only now did she have the chance to examine it closely, and she quickly discovered the woman in red lying inside. The woman in red lay there, her stunningly beautiful face, capable of toppling kingdoms, entering Xiao Yun's eyes, making her feel a sense of inferiority. "If there's nothing else, you two can go out first. I want to rest," Duan Ling Tian said. "Yes, young master," Xiong Quan respectfully replied, and at the same time looked at the maid Xiao Yun. "Girl, we should go." The maid Xiao Yun reacted, reluctantly tearing her gaze away from the woman in red inside the ice coffin, and followed Xiong Quan out of the room. Xiong Quan conveniently closed the door for Duan Ling Tian. "Uncle, what's your name?" The maid Xiao Yun looked at Xiong Quan. "Xiong Quan." Xiong Quan said coolly. "Uncle Xiong Quan, do you know who the woman in that ice coffin beside Elder Duan is? This is the first time I've ever seen such a beautiful woman in my life." The maid Xiao Yun asked with curiosity in her eyes. "She is young master's woman." Xiong Quan sighed. Then seeing that the maid Xiao Yun seemed to want to ask something else, he spoke first. "All right, girl, don't ask any more questions. Help me arrange a room too." Inside the master bedroom. After Xiong Quan and the maid Xiao Yun left, Duan Ling Tian came to the ice coffin, gently caressed it with his hand, and gazed tenderly at Feng Tian Wu lying inside. "Tian Wu, rest well. Big brother Duan will wake you up very soon, and won't make you wait too long. Duan Ling Tian said softly, his voice as gentle as could be. A moment later, Duan Ling Tian changed his clothes, lay down on the bed to rest, and unknowingly drifted off to sleep. It had been a long time since he had slept so soundly. On the other side, Xiong Quan also settled down under the arrangement of the maid Xiao Yun. After arranging for Xiong Quan, the maid Xiao Yun's face was filled with confusion. Where exactly did that elder Duan come from? Looking at his age, he's not much older than me. No, soon. The maid Xiao Yun seemed to have thought of something, her pretty face changing slightly. In our Lu family, those who can become outer elders are either people of astonishing strength or extremely outstanding alchemists. If Elder Duan is human, given his age, he couldn't possibly have much strength, nor could he be an alchemist qualified to become an outer elder of our Lu family. Which means he's a demon, a powerful demon. Thinking of this, cold sweat broke out on her forehead. In her life, she had never dealt with a demon before. I heard that demons all have strange temperaments. Some demons might even revert to their true forms and eat people. Thinking of this, the maid Xiao Yun's body trembled. Sister Xiao Yun. Suddenly, a nightingale-like voice came from outside the mansion, bringing the maid Xiao Yun back to her senses. After wiping the cold sweat from her face, she walked towards the mansion's exterior. As soon as she stepped out of the mansion gate, she saw 6 maids walking side by side. You are all arranged by the second young master? As fellow maids of the Lu family, they knew each other. Seeing these 5 maids, Xiao Yun's eyes widened, her face filled with shock. As far as she knew, within the Lu family, the residences of ordinary elders were at most assigned 2 or 3 maids. Even the patriarch's residence had no more than 5 maids. And now, 6 more had come to her side, making a total of 7 including herself. 7 people serving and attending to an outer elder? Who exactly is that elder Duan? At this moment, the maid Xiao Yun vaguely felt that something was amiss. Even if that elder Duan was an emperor-level demon, he wouldn't receive such good treatment, would he? Sister Xiao Yun, from now on you'll be our big sister. You're so lucky to have encountered such a good assignment. The 6 maids approaching looked at the maid Xiao Yun with envy. This made the maid Xiao Yun even more confused. A good job. The maid Xiao Yun furrowed her brows and asked, do you know something? Or, have you heard of that young elder Duan? No way. Sister Xiao Yun, you haven't heard of elder Duan yet. The 6 maids looked at Xiao Yun as if she were a monster. Is that strange? Seeing the reaction of the 6 people, Xiao Yun couldn't help but be stunned. Sister Xiao Yun, the entire Lu family has probably already spread the stories of Elder Duan. You were the first person to serve Elder Duan, the one who got the closest opportunity, yet you still don't know? The 6 maids shook their heads and sighed, all feeling that Xiao Yun's news was severely outdated. The 6 of you stopped keeping me in suspense. Xiao Yun gave a wry smile. Immediately afterward, the 6 maids stopped wasting words, speaking one sentence after another, recounting everything they knew about the deeds of Elder Duan, who had just arrived at the Lu family and instantly became a Lu family elder. Elder Duan killed Lu family elder Lu Zhao immediately upon arriving at our Lu family, and killed the 3rd young master. When she heard about the actions of the young elder Duan, and that the 2 great protector elders of the Lu family had appeared, intending to kill him, Xiao Yun couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat for him. However, she knew that the result must have been that Elder Duan was fine. Otherwise, she wouldn't have had the opportunity to serve Elder Duan, a first-grade alchemist. When she heard that the young Elder Duan had displayed first-grade pill fire, revealing his identity as a first-grade alchemist, Xiao Yun's autumn eyes couldn't help but narrow. An alchemist, and a first-grade alchemist at that. Does this mean Elder Duan isn't a demon? But how is it possible that he, a human, possesses the strength to kill Lu family elder Lu Zhao, a void transformation realm 8th level expert, and is also a respected first-grade alchemist? Xiao Yun muttered to herself. Her voice wasn't loud, but it still reached the ears of the other 6 maids. Sister Xiao Yun, if it were before, we wouldn't dare believe that such a human existed. However, the facts are right before our eyes, leaving us no room for disbelief. That's right, Sister Xiao Yun. Now, Everyone in the Liu family is discussing Elder Duan, saying that Elder Duan is a peerless prodigy rarely seen on the Yunshao continent. Some people even say that Elder Duan is a gift bestowed upon our Liu family by the heavens. After nearly 1,000 years, a first-grade alchemist has appeared in our Liu family again. Once this news spreads, it will surely shock the entire Biling land, and even most of the southern outer land. The six maids spoke one after another, their tones mixed with excitement. Although they were only maids, they were considered half members of the Liu family, sharing in its honor and disgrace. I really didn't expect Elder Duan to actually, recalling the youth in purple robes who had no heirs, and her own casualness in front of him previously, the maid Xiao Yun felt a chill run down her spine. It turned out that the youth in purple robes was such an incredible existence. Not only was his martial strength astonishing, but he was also a first-grade alchemist. Sister Xiao Yun, what kind of person is Elder Duan? Is he easy to get along with? Soon, the six new maids questioned Xiao Yun all at once. Elder Duan is a very good person, very easygoing, Xiao Yun said. After sleeping for an unknown period, Duan Lingtian gradually woke up. After glancing at the ice coffin on the nearby table, he got out of bed. After washing up and changing into clean clothes, he walked out of his room. Elder Duan. Elder Duan. As soon as he opened the door and stepped out, Duan Lingtian heard two voices like orioles. Only then did he realize that a maid was standing on either side of his door. Morning, Duan Lingtian nodded in response, but couldn't help but smile bitterly internally that Lu Bai actually went and found a few more maids. At the same time, Duan Lingtian noticed that there were several other maids busy working inside the residence where he was currently staying. Elder Duan, I'll bring people to help tidy up your room. Soon, Duan Lingtian saw the maid Xiao Yun approaching. After greeting him, she took the two maids at the doorway and entered his room for a round of cleaning. Of course, the main task was sweeping away dust. A moment later, when the three maids came out, the entire room was spotless. Elder Duan, do you have any other instructions? After the maid Xiao Yun brought her people out, she respectfully looked at Duan Lingtian, waiting for his further instructions. At this moment, Duan Lingtian also noticed. The maid Xiao Yun's attitude towards him had undergone a drastic change compared to when he first arrived. She no longer had her previous casualness, and her every move was filled with restraint. Xiao Yun, you don't need to be so reserved in front of me. Just be as casual as before. Duan Lingtian said. Xiao Yun dares not. The maid Xiao Yun said, lowering her head. What a joke. It was one thing when she didn't know the details of Elder Duan before her, but now that she knew, even if she were given 100 times the courage, she wouldn't dare to be as casual as she was previously. Seeing this, Duan Lingtian felt helpless but didn't insist further. He said lightly, go invite the second young master over. Yes. The maid Xiao Yun responded and left. As for the other two maids, they returned to stand on either side of Duan Lingtian's door, like statues. Duan Lingtian shook his head, stepped out, and went to find Xiong Quan. As for the ice coffin inside the room, he did not bring it out. In his view, this was the Biling Liu family, one of the two most powerful forces in the Biling land. No one would dare cause trouble here. Therefore, leaving it temporarily in the room was very safe. And he would not be leaving the Liu family anytime soon. Guided by a maid, Duan Lingtian quickly found Xiong Quan in the back courtyard of the residence. When he saw Xiong Quan, the latter was diligently and desperately practicing his sword, dripping with sweat. Xiong Quan. Seeing Xiong Quan so diligent and desperate, Duan Lingtian sighed inwardly. He naturally knew why Xiong Quan was so diligent and desperate. He simply wanted to become stronger so he could better assist him and not hold him back. Young master. Soon, Xiong Quan stopped and stood up, having noticed Duan Lingtian. Xiong Quan, how much of the information contained within that character, sword, have you comprehended? Duan Lingtian asked with a smile. The character sword Duan Lingtian mentioned was naturally the carving left behind by a man who called himself Sword Saint, located in a deep mountain canyon in the Qinglin Imperial Kingdom, where Xiong Quan's hometown was situated. That character's sword contained extremely astonishing comprehension of the sword Dao. According to Duan Lingtian's estimation, even comprehending just 1% of the sword Dao comprehension contained within that character's sword would likely allow one to run rampant across the Yunxiao continent. This was something he had discovered recently. Not long ago, he gained further comprehension of the character's sword stored in his mind, thereby raising his sword intent to the 8th level high-grade sword intent in one fell swoop. Although he hadn't improved much in other aspects, due to the improvement of his sword intent, he had gained an additional 300 powers of the ancient horned dragon. Relying on his quasi-emperor grade spirit sword and executing his full power, he could unleash 3,800 powers of the ancient horned dragon. This was without using the earth concept to borrow the power of earth. It was precisely because of this that he was able to instantly kill Lu family elder Lu Zhao, a void transformation realm 8th level expert, in a single exchange last time, effortlessly from start to finish. Young master, Xiongquan is dull-witted and still hasn't made any progress. Xiongquan pulled a long face and smiled bitterly. Don't rush, many things depend on opportunity. Perhaps, at some point, a flash of inspiration in your mind will allow you to comprehend them naturally. Duan Lingtian consoled him. However, seeing Xiongquan's discouraged appearance, his consolation clearly had little effect. Duan Lingtian. Just then, a loud and familiar voice came, breaking the slightly silent atmosphere. Lu Bai. The person who arrived was precisely the Lu family's second young master, Lu Bai. Duan Lingtian wasted no words and went straight to the point. Lu Bai, I want to see the family head. I already relayed the matter about this soul-fixing root and soul-stabilizing grass you mentioned to me a few days ago to the family head. You might find out the result when you go see him this time. Lu Bai knew the purpose of Duan Lingtian wanting to see the Lu family head, and he said frankly, the two heaven and earth treasures you mentioned sound like medicinal materials. Our Lu family has countless rare medicinal materials in its collection, so we might have what you need. I hope so. Duan Lingtian nodded, then looked at Xiongquan. Xiongquan, do you want to come with me? Young master, I won't go. I want to cultivate a bit more. Besides, if I stay here, I can also help look after young Miss Tianwu. Xiongquan said. All right. Duan Lingtian nodded, then followed Lu Bai alone to meet the Lu family head, Lu Rue. The residence where Lu Rue lived was not far from Duan Lingtian's residence, and even Lu Bai's residence was nearby. This eastern area of our Lu family residence is where the family's high-level members and direct descendants live. The most magnificent residence ahead is where the family head resides. Lu Bai introduced this while pointing ahead. Hearing this, Duan Lingtian looked over. In the distance, a residence stood tall and magnificent, towering above the surrounding residences and particularly conspicuous. After walking forward for a while, Duan Lingtian raised an eyebrow, clearly sensing a gaze locking onto him from afar. When he looked back, he saw a young man nearing middle age stepping towards him and Lu Bai, followed by an elder. At this moment, Duan Lingtian heard Lu Bai snort, clearly directed at the approaching person. Lu Bai, aren't you going to greet your big brother? At this moment, the youth in gray clothes arrived in front of Duan Lingtian and Lu Bai. His gaze had already moved away from Duan Lingtian and shifted to Lu Bai. Are we close? Lu Bai coldly swept his gaze over the youth in gray clothes and said dismissively, Lu Bai, is there some misunderstanding between us? The youth in gray clothes maintained a smile on his face, even though Lu Bai didn't give him any pleasant look. This made Duan Lingtian sigh in admiration for his good temper. Suddenly, Duan Lingtian seemed to recall something and raised an eyebrow. Big brother? This gray-clad youth calls himself Big Brother in front of Lu Bai? Lu Song. Soon, Duan Lingtian caught on and guessed the identity of the gray-clad youth before him. Within the Lu clan, the only person who can call himself Big Brother before Lu Bai is the direct line eldest young master Lu Song, who is also Lu Bai's mortal enemy and a stumbling block to Lu Bai becoming the next head of the Lu clan. And that's not all. The third young master of the Lu clan I killed earlier, Lu Huai. I've heard people say he's actually Lu Song's younger brother. A younger brother is a real younger brother. For a moment, Duan Lingtian's gaze toward Lu Song grew more wary. You must be Elder Duan, right? Seeing that Lu Bai ignored him, Lu Song remained unperturbed, quickly shifted his focus, looked at Duan Lingtian, and a dazzling smile spread across his face. However, the radiant smile on Lu Song's face, when reflected in Duan Lingtian's eyes, seemed blindingly harsh. This Lu Song doesn't get along with his younger brother Lu Bai? Duan Lingtian ignored Lu Song and instead used Yuan power sound condensation to inquire of Lu Bai. They lost both parents at a young age, supported each other, so their relationship is naturally excellent. For Lu Huai, Lu Song is not only a brother but also plays the role of a father, both brother and father. Lu Bai replied using Yuan power sound condensation. Instantly, a chill rose in Duan Lingtian's heart. He didn't believe Lu Song was unaware of his having killed Lu Huai. Even so, when facing him, Lu Song could still smile, which made Duan Lingtian feel a cold shiver down his spine. This Lu Song is an extremely dangerous individual. On this point, Duan Lingtian could almost be certain. To act as if nothing's wrong in front of the brother he killed's avenger is not something an ordinary person can do. Anyone capable of that must be scheming. If Lu Song saw him shouting for battle, he might not consider Lu Song a threat. But Lu Song's behavior made him feel a deep sense of apprehension. A visible enemy is not frightening. A hidden enemy is the most terrifying. Who are you? Duan Lingtian looked at Lu Song and asked knowingly. I am Lu Song. Lu Song's smile remained unchanged as he politely responded to Duan Lingtian. Lu Song, eldest young master of the Lu clan. Duan Lingtian pretended to be shocked. Yes. Lu Song nodded, then added, however, as the eldest young master of the Lu clan, I am nothing before you, Elder Duan. You are a first-grade alchemist, so even the family head and the 3 protector elders must show you threefold respect. As he spoke, Lu Song's face was full of humility. Facing Lu Song's flattery, Duan Lingtian didn't pay much attention. He stared deeply at Lu Song and, smiling, asked, I heard, the 3rd young master of the Lu clan, Lu Huai, is your biological younger brother? As soon as the words left his mouth, Duan Lingtian's gaze hardened, locking onto Lu Song with a sharp look that seemed to pierce everything. At the same time, his mental energy extended outward. Yes, Lu Song nodded, his smile growing even richer, and he did not get angry when Duan Lingtian mentioned Lu Huai. Do you know I killed him? Duan Lingtian asked again. As he asked the question, a shock rippled through Duan Lingtian's heart. Because he realized that whenever he brought up Lu Huai, neither his gaze nor his mental energy detected any emotional fluctuation in Lu Song. Not even a fraction. What does that signify? Either Lu Song simply doesn't care about his younger brother Lu Huai's life or death, or Lu Song has perfectly concealed his emotions. If it's the former, then that's that. But if it's the latter, Lu Song is truly terrifying. Through the Yuan power sound condensation he just used to question Lu Song, he could rule out the former, leaving only the latter, which caused an inexplicable chill to rise within him. Now, in his eyes, Lu Song resembles a venomous snake that can effortlessly blend into its surroundings, hidden with utmost perfection. Such a snake is undoubtedly extremely dangerous and impossible to guard against. If it erupts, it will kill without a trace. Suddenly, Duan Lingtian felt his extending mental energy twitch sharply. Only then did he realize. Just as his words finished, Lu Song's emotions showed a noticeable abnormal fluctuation. Lu Song's emotional shift was extremely slight and fleeting, yet his keen mental energy still clearly sensed it. Within that emotional ripple lay a clear, bloodthirsty, murderous intent. I know. However, I must also thank Elder Duan for clearing the doors for my family. With Lu Huai's temperament, trouble will inevitably arise, and dying at your hands is his own blessing. Lu Song nodded, his smile still hanging on his face. However, his smile reflected into Duan Lingtian's eyes, sending a shiver down his spine. It was his mental energy that detected Lu Song's emotional shift. Otherwise, with just the naked eye, he might have been deceived by Lu Song. Then I truly acted unintentionally, like planting a willow that grew into shade. But you needn't thank me. It was merely a trivial effort on my part. Duan Lingtian gave Lu Song a casual glance, speaking calmly. Kid, you're asking for death. At that moment, a flash of cold light passed through the elder behind Lu Song's eyes, and his aura immediately locked onto Duan Lingtian. Immediately, he stepped forward, intending to strike at Duan Lingtian. Who? However, before the elder could act, Lu Song blocked him with a sideways hand. Elder Duan, I truly apologize. Guan Lao gets along well with Lu Huai. If he oversteps, I hope you can understand. Lu Song, with an apologetic look, said to Duan Lingtian. Upon hearing this, Duan Lingtian did not look at Lu Song. His gaze was fixed on the elder behind Lu Song, whose white hair and eyebrows glared at him with hatred. In an instant, as if sensing something, a thoughtful expression appeared on Duan Lingtian's face. How interesting. Duan Lingtian gave the elder a deep glance, then looked away, ignoring Lu Song. After calling out to Lu Bai, he left together with him. Only Lu Song and the elder behind him remained, watching from afar as Duan Lingtian and Lu Bai's silhouettes receded. Young master, you shouldn't have blocked me. Just now, I was fully confident I could kill him to avenge the little young master. The elder stared at the departing purple figure, his face contorted with hatred, and said in a deep voice. And then, now, the broad smile on Lu Song's face vanished, replaced by indifference. Then, hearing that, the elder was at a loss for how to respond. If you kill him, you won't survive. Even if you manage to escape, you'll be doomed to a life on the run. When that time comes, where will you place me? Or perhaps you intend to have me flee with you? Lu Song spoke each word carefully, leaving the elder speechless. Indeed, if he kills that Duan Lingtian, facing the angry senior officials of the Lu family, he could become a fugitive. But the young master would inevitably be dragged down by him. After all, his every move represents his family's young master, Lu Song. If you kill him, you either die or flee. As for me, even if I can stay in the Lu family, I will inevitably be barred from the position of family head. The Lu family will not allow someone who disregards family interests to become head. You should be well aware of this. Lu Song said in a low voice. If he permits this elder here to kill Duan Lingtian, even if the Lu family doesn't punish him, the senior officials will undoubtedly have objections, deeming him completely indifferent to family interests. Duan Lingtian, first-grade alchemist, Lu family's first guest elder. If he is killed, the Lu family's interests will suffer a great loss. Young master, what about the little young master's vengeance? Should it go unanswered? The elder said with a sorrowful and angry expression. No revenge? How could that be? He's my own brother. I watched him grow up. A flash of cold light flickered in Lu Song's eyes, then quickly subsided. His slightly feral expression returned to calm. However, this matter cannot be handled impulsively. It requires careful deliberation. I will follow your arrangement, young master. Hearing this, the elder's eyes brightened, and he replied respectfully. Meanwhile, Duan Lingtian and Lu Bai arrived near the residence of the Lu family head, Lu Rue. In a dozen or so breaths, they would reach the front mansion. Duan Lingtian, be careful of that Lu Song. That Lu Song is a smiling tiger. Outwardly one thing, secretly another. You killed his brother. He won't be so magnanimous. He definitely won't let it go. Lu Bai looked at Duan Lingtian, his face solemn, and warned him. Duan Lingtian nodded. He had already sensed this without Lu Bai's reminder. Lu Bai, the elder behind Lu Song, do you know his background? Soon, Duan Lingtian recalled the elder who had been behind Lu Song, attempting to strike him. I only know that old fellow's surname is Guan. He's called Guan Lao. As for his background, I heard he was once a servant of Lu Song's grandfather, and because of his talent, later became a collateral descendant of our Lu family. Later, after Lu Song's grandfather died, he followed Lu Song's father. After Lu Song's parents died, he stayed with Lu Song and his brother Lu Huai, caring for them. It is said that the old fellow's strength has already entered the Void Transformation Realm 9th level, not far from the Void Realm peak. His power surpasses many of our Lu family's elders. Lu Bai enumerated everything he knew. Void Transformation Realm 9th level. Upon hearing Lu Bai's words, Duan Lingtian raised an eyebrow, a shock in his heart. That old fellow hides deeply. Clearly he's a Martial Emperor expert, yet he claims outwardly only to be at the Void Transformation Realm 9th level. Just now, when that elder's aura locked onto him, intending to strike, his mental energy immediately extended, aiming to probe the elder's cultivation. But as it approached the elder, it seemed to merge into a cotton ball and then vanished completely. At that moment, he knew. That elder is a Martial Emperor expert. However, that old man was, at most, a Martial Emperor realm first-level existence. Duan Ling Tian was able to roughly deduce this through the memories of the reincarnated Martial Emperor's 2 lives. What? Is something wrong? Lu Bai saw Duan Ling Tian suddenly stop in his tracks, looking a little lost, so he also stopped and asked curiously. Nothing. Duan Ling Tian snapped back to reality when he heard the question and shook his head. He still decided not to tell Lu Bai about his discovery. If Lu Bai knew that Lu Song had a Martial Emperor expert constantly by his side, he would definitely not be in a good mood. After all, as long as he still wanted to become the next head of the Lu family, he had to eliminate Lu Song, this stepping stone. If he knew that Lu Song had a Martial Emperor expert protecting him, he might feel despair because of it. Seeing Duan Ling Tian regain his composure, seemingly preoccupied, Lu Bai felt curious but did not press further. He could tell that Duan Ling Tian was unwilling to say more. Therefore, he did not intend to force Duan Ling Tian to speak. Soon, under Lu Bai's lead, Duan Ling Tian entered the magnificent and tall mansion ahead and stepped into the main hall in the center of the mansion. In the main hall, someone was already waiting there. The Lu family head, Lu Rue. Family head. Seeing Lu Rue, Duan Ling Tian smiled and greeted him, not bowing as Lu Bai did. If it were anyone else, Lu Rue would certainly be displeased. But this person was Duan Ling Tian, which not only made him feel that it was fine, but he even smiled back. Elder Duan. Elder Duan, I have found textual records regarding the 2 medicinal ingredients you are looking for after consulting some ancient texts. In the past 2 days, I have searched extensively in our Lu family's treasury and finally found several medicinal ingredients with similar characteristics. I just don't know if these are the ones you are looking for. Lu Rue said directly. Several kinds. Hearing Lu Rue's words, Duan Ling Tian's eyes lit up, and he asked eagerly, Family head, could you please bring out those medicinal ingredients for me to identify? Duan Ling Tian's words clearly contained a hint of excitement. In his opinion, since there were several types of medicinal ingredients for him to choose from, it was possible that what he wanted was among them. Of course. Lu Rue raised his hand and took out 7 medicinal ingredients. 3 of them were root-shaped medicinal ingredients, similar to ginseng, but with many differences. As for the other 4 medicinal ingredients, they were all leaf-shaped. Elder Duan, look. None of them are it. Lu Rue, who was about to hand the 7 medicinal ingredients in his hand to Duan Ling Tian, had just looked up at Duan Ling Tian when he saw Duan Ling Tian's face full of disappointment, accompanied by a sigh. At once, he vaguely realized something. Yes. Duan Ling Tian nodded, a wry smile on his face, and said, Among these medicinal ingredients, there are no soul-fixing root and soul-stabilizing grass that I need. However, regardless, thank you for your efforts, family head. Towards the end, Duan Ling Tian's face showed gratitude. Elder Duan, you're too kind. Lu Rue said, My understanding of soul-fixing root and soul-stabilizing grass is limited to the rough textual records in ancient books, so even if I were to see them, I might not be able to recognize them. In our Lu family's treasury, there are still some medicinal ingredients that match the textual descriptions of these 2 heavenly materials and earthly treasures, but I haven't taken them out together. How about, Elder Duan, you accompany me, and you can inspect them yourself? Lu Rue suggested towards the end of his speech. Then I shall thank the family head in advance here. Duan Ling Tian's words undoubtedly indicated his acceptance. Intending to accompany Lu Rue, to the Lu family's treasury to inspect the medicinal ingredients there and see if what he wanted was among them. Immediately after, Duan Ling Tian followed Lu Rue out of the mansion. As for Lu Bai, he returned to his own residence and did not follow along. The Lu family's treasury is located to the north of the Lu family mansion, surrounded by 3 inner and 3 outer layers of protection, densely covered with inscription formations, some of which are powerful killing formations. The Lu family's treasury is a palace enveloped by numerous inscription formations, with only one entrance and exit, personally guarded by an elderly man. Elder Duan, family head. The old man was somewhat surprised to see Duan Ling Tian and Lu Rue appear together, but he still greeted them warmly. Elder Ji. Duan Ling Tian smiled in response. The old man before him was not unfamiliar. He was Lu Ji, one of the 3 great guardian elders of the Lu family whom he had met a few days ago, a powerful martial emperor expert. Elder Ji, I'm taking Elder Duan inside to look for some medicinal ingredients. Lu Rue said to Lu Ji. Lu Ji nodded and, with a wave of his hand, extended a gentle force, activating an inscription formation at the entrance of the Lu family's treasury. Creak. At the same time, the treasury's main door opened on its own. Duan Ling Tian and Lu Rue walked into the treasury together, and what greeted their eyes was a dazzling array of colorful light. It was a pile of jewels, piled up like mountains, emitting brilliant light when illuminated by the light brought in by Duan Ling Tian and Lu Rue. Some of the large pearls that continued to glow even after the light disappeared illuminated the entire treasury, making them even more eye-catching. Luminous pearls. Duan Ling Tian raised an eyebrow. If Elder Duan is interested in these items, feel free to take them. As if noticing Duan Ling Tian's gaze drawn to the pile of jewels, Lu Rue said cheerfully. For a family like the Northern Ridge Lu family, these piles of jewels stacked like mountains were merely very common decorative items of little value. I'm just looking. Duan Ling Tian shook his head, indicating that he was not interested in those things. Family head, where are the medicinal ingredients? Looking around, Duan Ling Tian didn't see any medicinal ingredients. At once, he couldn't help but look at Lu Rue with a confused expression and asked curiously. The medicinal ingredients are inside. Lu Rue said, leading the way. The Lu family, besides being one of the 2 strongest families in the Northern Ridge, is also an alchemist family. For alchemists, the most precious things, besides medicine cauldrons, are undoubtedly the medicinal ingredients required to refine pills. Therefore, for the Lu family, medicinal ingredients are the most precious treasures, especially those rarer medicinal ingredients. Along the way, from the place where jewels were stored to the place where medicinal ingredients were stored, Duan Ling Tian also passed through several other areas. Those areas stored various treasures such as ancient books, conception fragments, and spirit weapons. This is it. As Lu Rue opened the mechanism, a stone door ahead rose. The next moment, Duan Ling Tian smelled a rich medicinal fragrance wafting from inside, rapidly entering his nostrils. For a moment, he felt light all over, as if he had taken some kind of miraculous elixir. After a moment, he came back to his senses. Elder Duan, please. Lu Rue motioned for Duan Ling Tian to enter the spacious side hall behind the stone door. The side hall was filled with numerous medicinal ingredients, too many to take in with a single glance. Spirit heart grass, butterfly dance flower, traceless stem, so many rare medicinal ingredients. Soon, Duan Ling Tian was captivated by many of the medicinal ingredients in the side hall, exclaiming in a somewhat gaffe manner. Although these medicinal ingredients were not as urgently needed as the soul-fixing root and soul-stabilizing grass he currently desired, they were all relatively rare. Lu Rue stood by, unsurprised by Duan Ling Tian's display of emotion. He still remembered. When he first came here, he was older than this Elder Duan, but his composure was far inferior to this Elder Duan's. At that time, looking at a pile of rare medicinal ingredients, he couldn't move his feet for a long time. Later, it was the old family head who slapped him, waking him up. Family head, where are those medicinal ingredients you mentioned? Duan Ling Tian looked at Lu Rue and asked. There were so many medicinal ingredients here. If he really had to go through all of them, it would take at least a few days. Thinking of this, he felt a headache and couldn't help but ask Lu Rue. Now, he only hoped that Lu Rue had set those medicinal ingredients aside, allowing him to choose directly. I had someone categorize those medicinal ingredients and place them over there. Lu Rue pointed to a corner of the side hall and said. Duan Ling Tian felt relieved upon hearing this. He then walked to that corner of the side hall and pulled open the dust cover draped over a pile of medicinal ingredients. After the dust cover was lifted, Duan Ling Tian's vision suddenly cleared, revealing dozens of various medicinal ingredients. Duan Ling Tian glanced roughly, and the medicinal ingredients within his sight, more or less, had some similarities with the soul-fixing root and soul-stabilizing grass he was looking for. Family Head has gone to great lengths. Taking a deep breath, Duan Ling Tian turned to look at Lu Rue, saying earnestly. The pile of medicinal ingredients neatly arranged in front of him had clearly been collected in the past few days, which was enough to show Lu Rue's painstaking efforts, filling Duan Ling Tian with warmth from the bottom of his heart. Although he was a first-grade alchemist, he had not yet refined a single pill for the Lu family since joining them a few days ago, meaning he had not contributed anything to the Lu family. Under such circumstances, Lu Rue's efforts on behalf of the Lu family filled him with gratitude from the bottom of his heart. I hope Elder Duan can find what you're looking for, Lu Rue said with a smile. Duan Ling Tian nodded and turned back to carefully examine the pile of medicinal ingredients in front of him. Soon, his gaze fixed on one of the medicinal ingredients and could no longer move away. At the same time, the atmosphere in the side hall became incredibly tense. Hiss, hiss, only Duan Ling Tian's increasingly heavy breathing could be heard. The increasingly heavy breathing made Lu Rue curious. He stepped forward like the wind and arrived beside Duan Ling Tian, following Duan Ling Tian's gaze. At the same time, a root-shaped medicinal ingredient appeared before his eyes. All the roots of this root-shaped medicinal ingredient were curled up together, twisted into a ball, looking extremely strange. This wouldn't be the soul-fixing root, would it? Lu Rue asked somewhat in a daze. This root-shaped medicinal ingredient in front of him was vastly different from the textual description of the soul-fixing root he had seen in ancient books. The latter made no mention of the roots of the soul-fixing root curling up together. That's right. This is the soul-fixing root, and not just any ordinary soul-fixing root. It's not an ordinary soul-fixing root. Seeing that Duan Ling Tian was startled awake by him and immediately uttered that phrase, Lu Rue's eyes showed confusion, completely unaware of what Duan Ling Tian meant. Duan Ling Tian, startled awake by Lu Rue, showed intense excitement on his face. In ordinary soul-fixing roots, the root is straight, but once it survives in the world for more than 1,000 years, its root begins to curl up. The longer it survives in the world, the more its root will curl up. Duan Ling Tian raised his hand and grabbed the soul-fixing root, whose roots were completely curled up, showing a hint of excitement in his eyes. In that case, hasn't this soul-fixing root existed for an extremely long time? After hearing what Duan Ling Tian said, Lu Rue's eyes lit up. Elder Duan, can you deduce how long it has existed in the world? Judging by the degree of curling of its root, it has existed for at least 5,000 years. This type of soul-fixing root can already be called a coiling dragon root. Duan Ling Tian said this while examining the soul-fixing root in his hand. Coiling dragon root. Hearing Duan Ling Tian's words, Lu Rue's pupils constricted. Naturally, he had heard of the coiling dragon root. Coiling dragon root is not just a name for a specific root-shaped medicinal material. Any rare root-shaped medicinal material that survives for more than 5,000 years can be called a coiling dragon root. I never expected this soul-fixing root to have transformed into a coiling dragon root. No wonder I overlooked it before and didn't take it. Lu Rue exclaimed. Fortunately, Elder Duan is knowledgeable and recognized it with just one glance. Otherwise, even if it had remained in our Lu family treasury, it probably would have just gathered dust in the end. Congratulations, Elder Duan. After collecting himself, Lu Rue smiled and congratulated Duan Lingtian. Thank you, family head. Duan Lingtian quickly thanked him, then stored the soul-fixing root in his storage ring as if it were a priceless treasure. Even now, his agitated mood was difficult to calm down. Whether it was the soul-fixing root or the soul-stabilizing grass, throughout the entire Yinshao continent, they were extremely rare heaven and earth treasures that many people might never see in their lifetime. Before this, Duan Lingtian never imagined he would obtain a soul-fixing root in the Lu family. Although he had followed Lu Rue to the Lu family treasury, he mostly held the mentality of treating a dead horse as if it were still alive, intending merely to try his luck. He never thought he could actually find a soul-fixing root or soul-stabilizing grass here. Perhaps this is what they mean by an unintended action yields a result. Duan Lingtian thought inwardly. With this soul-fixing root, I can first prepare a medicinal liquid for Tian Wu to consume, repairing a portion of her soul injury. I only hope that after repairing that portion of the injury, Tian Wu can wake up. Duan Lingtian muttered to himself, his face full of anxiety by the end. Elder Duan, continue looking. See if you can also find this soul-stabilizing grass. Lu Rue said with a smile. Duan Lingtian nodded, then began examining the dozens of medicinal materials before him again, but ultimately found nothing. The soul-stabilizing grass is not here. Although he didn't find the soul-stabilizing grass, obtaining the soul-fixing root was already a huge surprise for Duan Lingtian. Family head, I want to go back first. Duan Lingtian was eager to return, wanting only to quickly prepare the medicinal liquid for Feng Tianwu to consume. He didn't want to stay here for a moment longer. All right. As the Lu family head, Lu Rue was also a shrewd individual and could naturally sense the urgency in Duan Lingtian's tone. Immediately afterward, the two left the side hall where the medicinal materials were stored and walked outside. They returned the way they came. Family head, if the family has a need for first-grade elixirs, you can simply give me a list. As long as the medicinal materials arrive, I can directly help the family refine the first-grade elixirs. Duan Lingtian said to Lu Rue with a serious expression. Not only would he rely on the Lu family in many ways later, but just for now, he owed the Lu family a huge favor. Lu Rue might not have been clear on the true value of the soul-fixing root, but he knew it perfectly well. That was a heaven and earth treasure capable of repairing the soul. It was far beyond what ordinary rare medicinal materials could compare to. Hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Lu Rue's eyes lit up. Good, good. I will make a list later and hand the medicinal materials over to Elder Duan. First-grade elixir. Although their Lu family also had them, they came from the hands of the president of the Alchemist Guild headquarters in the southern outer land, and they also had to pay a large amount of compensation. Even so, that president of the Alchemist Guild headquarters imposed additional restrictions every time he refined first-grade elixirs for their Lu family, unwilling to help them refine more. This left them quite helpless, constantly lamenting why their family couldn't produce another first-grade alchemist. If their Lu family could produce a first-grade alchemist, why would they need to beg the president of the Alchemist Guild headquarters in the southern outer land? Their Lu family had only produced a first-grade alchemist nearly 1,000 years ago. Precisely because of this, Duan Lingtian's appearance allowed the Lu family to see dawn, as it meant the Lu family would no longer need to depend on others for first-grade elixirs in the future. This was also one of the reasons why the Lu family members, including the family head Lu Rue, treated him with extra respect when Duan Lingtian revealed his identity as a first-grade alchemist and expressed his intention to join the Lu family. The Lu family desperately needed a first-grade alchemist to uphold the golden signboard of Alchemist family. A moment later, Duan Lingtian and Lu Rue left the Lu family treasury and returned to the eastern area of the Lu family residence. Elder Duan, you don't need to worry about the soul-stabilizing grass. I will immediately send people out to spread the word and put a reward on the soul-stabilizing grass. Before parting, Lu Rue looked at Duan Lingtian and said, however, before that, Please draw a detailed picture of the soul-stabilizing grass for me. My understanding of this soul-stabilizing grass is limited to rough textual records in ancient books. Others, even if they see the soul-stabilizing grass, might not recognize it. Lu Rue stated his plan immediately. A reward. Hearing Lu Rue's words, Duan Lingtian's eyes brightened. He immediately took the paper and brush handed over by Lu Rue and quickly drew the soul-stabilizing grass that the reincarnation Martial Emperor had seen several times in his memory. He didn't miss a single detail. It took Duan Lingtian a full quarter of an hour to draw a complete, soul-stabilizing grass. What a great drawing! Looking at the lifelike drawing of the grass handed over by Duan Lingtian, a glimmer flashed in Lu Rue's eyes, and he immediately laughed. Using this drawing as a blueprint, we can make tens of millions of copies and distribute them, mobilizing the entire northern desert region and even most of the southern outer lands population to search for this soul-stabilizing grass. What is the family head planning to use as the reward? Hearing Duan Lingtian's question, Lu Rue mused slightly. Regarding the reward, we need to carefully consider it. Ordinary items won't be enough to mobilize all the martial artists who know about this to help search for the soul-stabilizing grass. Family head, I have a suggestion. A thought suddenly popped into Duan Lingtian's mind, and he immediately spoke. Elder Duan, please speak. Lu Rue looked at Duan Lingtian. How about this? The reward issued by the Lu family promises that the person who finds this soul-stabilizing grass will receive 1 first-grade spirit tool and 10 first-grade revival pills. Duan Lingtian stated directly. 1 first-grade spirit tool, 10 first-grade revival pills. As soon as Duan Lingtian said this, Lu Rue, the Lu family head, couldn't help but be stunned. Whether it was a first-grade spirit tool or a first-grade revival pill, they were extremely valuable treasures even in the inland, let alone appearing in the outer land. Appearing in the outer land, they were enough to make people fight desperately for them. Elder Duan, the first-grade revival pills are fine. Our Lu family still has a dozen in stock. Even if the stock isn't enough, you can refine them. Lu Rue took a deep breath, calming his agitated mood, before continuing, but that first-grade spirit tool, even our Lu family only has 4 pieces. 3 are held by the 3 protector elders, and 1 is in my hand. These 4 first-grade spirit tools were passed down by our Lu family ancestors, and I. Lu Rue's words were interrupted right there. Family head, I think you misunderstood. Duan Lingtian interrupted Lu Rue directly. He knew Lu Rue had misunderstood his meaning. Misunderstood? Lu Rue was startled. Family head, the reward items I just suggested, I didn't intend for the family to pay for them. I am already very grateful that the family can use its extensive network to announce this reward. Duan Lingtian nodded first, then said, as for the reward of 1 first-grade spirit tool and 10 first-grade revival pills, they will all be provided by me personally. Hearing this, Lu Rue immediately sighed in relief. I forgot, since Elder Duan is a first-grade alchemist, obtaining a first-grade spirit tool is naturally not difficult. A first-grade alchemist, as long as they have enough medicinal materials, can freely refine first-grade elixirs. A certain quantity of first-grade elixirs can definitely be exchanged for a first-grade spirit tool refined by a first-grade artifact refiner. Of course, this was Lu Rue's thought process. If Lu Rue knew that the youth in purple robes standing before him was not only a first-grade alchemist, but also a first-grade artifact refiner, who knows what expression he would wear? Family head, I'll trouble you with this matter. Rest assured, Elder Duan. Lu Rue nodded. I will certainly handle this matter properly for you. With the reward you have promised, I believe even Martial Emperor experts will be tempted and personally help you search for this soul-stabilizing grass. That's exactly the effect I want. Duan Lingtian laughed. After parting with Lu Rue, Duan Lingtian moved like an arrow shot from a bow, heading straight for the residence where he was staying. Tian Wu, Big Brother Duan has already found the soul-fixing root. With the 5,000-year medicinal power of this soul-fixing root, it should be enough to help you repair most of your soul injuries. Duan Lingtian murmured, swoosh. In the tightly shut and extremely quiet room, a soft sound echoed out of nowhere. A purple-clad youth stood before the bed, a wisp of flame, a solidified wisp of flame materializing from his palm. This flame, however, was different from ordinary flames, for the flame was entirely purple. Not only that, but around the purple flame, a faint golden border shimmered. Purple gold pill fire, also known as Grade 1 pill fire. The purple-clad youth was Duan Ling Tian, who had returned after parting ways with Lu Rue, the patriarch of the Lu family. Upon his return, Duan Ling Tian went straight to his room. Once in his room, he carefully lifted Feng Tian Wu, who lay dormant in the ice coffin, and placed her on the bed. Immediately after, he conjured this Grade 1 pill fire. This soul-stabilizing root, which has existed for a full 5,000 years, can only be melted by a Grade 1 or higher pill fire. Suddenly, Duan Ling Tian's lips moved, and he muttered to himself. If there were a second conscious person here, hearing Duan Ling Tian's words, they would surely find it inexplicable. Isn't Grade 1 pill fire already the highest grade of pill fire? How can there be a pill fire above Grade 1? That person would surely pose such a question. Of course, this is also because that person is unaware of the existence of quasi-emperor grade alchemists and emperor grade alchemists. Otherwise, they certainly wouldn't speak like that. Emperor grade alchemists are the true alchemists standing at the pinnacle of Cloud Continent. While muttering to himself, Duan Ling Tian casually took out a strange root-shaped medicinal herb. All the roots of the herb were curled up together, making it look extremely peculiar. It was precisely the soul-stabilizing root. A moment later, the soul-stabilizing root was guided by Duan Ling Tian to the upper end of the Grade 1 pill fire, allowing the Grade 1 pill fire to completely envelop it. A quarter of an hour passed, but the soul-stabilizing root showed no change whatsoever. As expected of a soul-stabilizing root that has existed for 5,000 years, a full quarter of an hour, and the Grade 1 pill fire, without the aid of a medicinal cauldron, is still insufficient to melt it. Duan Ling Tian couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Immediately after, Duan Ling Tian took out his medicinal cauldron and then tossed the soul-stabilizing root into it. With the aid of the medicinal cauldron, Duan Ling Tian quickly melted the soul-stabilizing root and added some relatively common medicinal herbs, successfully refining the medicinal liquid he needed. It wasn't that he didn't want to refine it into a solidified pill, but the melted soul-stabilizing root simply couldn't be condensed into a pill, so he could only use it to refine a medicinal liquid. Thud! With a lift of his hand, Duan Ling Tian slapped the medicinal cauldron. The Grade 1 pill fire wrapped around the cauldron's dispensing opening, forming a faint barrier. Whoosh! Immediately after, a pool of ink-black medicinal liquid, like a sharp arrow, shot through the barrier formed by the Grade 1 pill fire and stopped in midair. An invisible force emerged from Duan Ling Tian's hand, guiding the pool of medicinal liquid to constantly tumble in the air. After putting away the medicinal cauldron, Duan Ling Tian guided the medicinal liquid to the bedside, while with his other hand, he helped Feng Tian Wu up from the bed, allowing her to lean against the headboard. At the same time, his hand slowly parted Feng Tian Wu's slightly dry lips. Whoosh! At this moment, the medicinal liquid guided by Duan Ling Tian reached Feng Tian Wu's lips, slowly merging into her mouth, drop by drop, and then into her body. A moment later, all the medicinal liquid had been sent into Feng Tian Wu's body by Duan Ling Tian. Tian Wu. After everything was done, Duan Ling Tian let out a sigh of relief, while simultaneously extending his spiritual energy to monitor the direction of the medicinal power formed by the medicinal liquid refined from the soul-stabilizing root. Duan Ling Tian's spiritual energy could clearly sense it. After the medicinal power integrated into Feng Tian Wu's body, it went straight to her mind, gathering there in a moment, and then directly rushed towards her damaged soul. The soul, like a cluster of flames, hung deep within the mind, flickering incessantly. A corner of Feng Tian Wu's soul was damaged. This was also the root cause of her unconsciousness. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The streams of medicinal power gathered in Feng Tianwu's mind surged out from all directions, and in a moment, they merged into her soul, converging together. Feng Tianwu's soul was completely enveloped, with only the medicinal power visible rolling outside. Logically, if it were only the soul-stabilizing root, Tianwu's soul couldn't possibly fully recover. Even if it's a 5,000-year-old soul-stabilizing root, it wouldn't be enough. Duanling Tian was somewhat lost in thought. I wonder if Tianwu will wake up. If she does, there might be some negative effects stemming from the soul damage. Duanling Tian's heart stirred, and he prepared for the worst. I hope the reward the patriarch helped me issue can truly secure this soul-fixing herb. That way, Tianwu's soul can completely heal. Thinking of this, Duanling Tian's face was filled with anticipation. Time quietly slipped away. Feng Tianwu's soul was still enveloped by the swirling medicinal power, making it impossible for Duanling Tian's spiritual energy to approach even slightly. He could only observe from afar. However, Duanling Tian silently stood guard by the bed, awaiting the final outcome. He knew that when the medicinal power fully integrated into Feng Tianwu's soul, there would be two possible outcomes. One outcome was simply that Feng Tianwu would remain unconscious until she took the medicinal liquid refined from the soul-fixing herb before she could regain consciousness. The other outcome was that Feng Tianwu would wake up, but her soul would still be in a damaged state, which would inevitably have some negative effects on her. Night gradually descended, and in the darkness, it was impossible to see one's hand in front of their face, but this did not affect Duanling Tian in the slightest. The medicinal power was still swirling. Duanling Tian's extended spiritual energy seemed to constantly report to him the condition of Feng Tianwu's soul deep within her mind. He sat by the bed, patiently waiting. Before he knew it, dawn enveloped the land, and the entire room returned to brightness. It's done. At this moment, Duanling Tian discovered that the medicinal power from the liquid refined from the soul-stabilizing root had completely integrated into Feng Tianwu's soul, repairing a portion of the damage to her soul. Tianwu. After retracting his spiritual energy, Duanling Tian looked at Feng Tianwu with a worried expression, while simultaneously reaching out to hold her hand. Because she had been lying in the ice coffin and stimulated by the cold for so long, Feng Tianwu's hand was very hot. Even after being out of the ice coffin for a whole day, her hand was still that hot. However, Duanling Tian didn't pay attention to these things. His gaze was firmly fixed on Feng Tianwu's beautiful face. He only wanted to know if Feng Tianwu, whose soul had been partially repaired, would awaken as a result. Time slipped away quietly. Half an hour passed quickly. Feng Tianwu still showed no signs of waking up. Sigh. Seeing this, Duanling Tian couldn't help but sigh, while simultaneously withdrawing his gaze and muttering, "It seems I still have to wait until I find this soul-fixing herb to make Tianwu wake up." Just then, a faint sound reached Duanling Tian's ears, like a clap of thunder, causing his pupils to contract and his entire body to suddenly stand up. His gaze shot out like lightning, once again locking onto the red-clad woman on the bed, Feng Tianwu. Feng Tianwu's small lips moved slightly, and her beautiful face also showed some movement. Immediately after, her pair of watery autumn eyes opened, and the first thing she saw was Duanling Tian, who was looking at her, but there was no unusual emotion in her eyes. Strangeness. When Feng Tianwu looked at Duanling Tian, her eyes were incredibly unfamiliar, as if she had never known Duanling Tian at all. This gaze, full of unfamiliarity, pierced Duanling Tian's heart with a pang of pain. "It seems my worst fear has come true," Duanling Tian muttered to himself. Whoosh. Before Duanling Tian could react, a red light flashed before his eyes. The next moment, he found that Feng Tianwu had already left the bed and disappeared from his sight. At the same time, he clearly sensed a scorching aura behind him. Tianwu. Duanling Tian turned around and looked at Feng Tianwu, who was floating in the air, her red robes fluttering, and streams of scorching flames rising around her. He noticed that Feng Tianwu's gaze towards him still contained no emotion and was extremely unfamiliar, as if she were looking at a stranger. Taking a deep breath, Duan Ling Tian suppressed his agitated emotions and softly asked, Tian Wu, do you not recognize me anymore? I am Big Brother Duan. Big Brother Duan. Hearing Duan Ling Tian's words, Feng Tian Wu, standing in midair, furrowed her brows, as if deep in thought. Her red robes, accompanied by the swirling, scorching flames around her body, fluttered, making her look like a fire spirit, a lost fire spirit. Yes, I am Big Brother Duan. Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian saw that Tian Wu seemed to be thinking and quickly pressed his advantage, intending to awaken her memories. I don't know you. However, what he received in return was Feng Tian Wu's cold retort. Not only that, but as Feng Tian Wu spoke coldly, her beautiful face seemed to be covered with a layer of frost, a frost that even the flames swirling around her body could not melt. Whoosh! As Feng Tian Wu raised her hand, a sword appeared in her hand, a 5-foot-long, thin, silkworm wing-like red soft sword. It was precisely the quasi-emperor grade spirit sword that Duan Ling Tian had given her in the past. However, at this moment, she pointed the sword given to her by Duan Ling Tian at him and coldly asked, Who exactly are you? Young master. Young master. Just then, a series of urgent voices came from outside the door. It was Xiong Quan, who, having learned of the disturbance in Duan Ling Tian's room through a maid, had rushed over in a hurry. However, he received no response. Tian Wu, I am Big Brother Duan. Have you forgotten? The sword in your hand, I gave it to you not long ago. Have you forgotten all of this? Even facing Feng Tian Wu, who had pointed her sword at him, Duan Ling Tian did not feel any alarm. He looked at Feng Tian Wu, patiently trying to awaken her memories. Big Brother Duan, this sword, you gave it to me. Feng Tian Wu looked at Duan Ling Tian, then at the sword in her hand, and murmured to herself. Yes, do you remember now? Duan Ling Tian nodded, looking at Feng Tian Wu with anticipation. Although he had prepared himself mentally, when he found that the awakened Feng Tian Wu had actually forgotten him, his heart was still filled with helplessness and bitterness. However, just as Duan Ling Tian was looking at Feng Tian Wu with anticipation, an unexpected change occurred. Whoosh! Feng Tian Wu moved, actually thrusting a sword at him, extremely sudden and with fierce momentum. At this moment, the flames emanating from her body seemed to be filled with an icy cold aura, making Duan Ling Tian's heart turn cold. Feng Tian Wu's speed was not fast in Duan Ling Tian's eyes, but he had no intention of dodging. He stood there quietly, his eyes filled with tenderness, gazing at Feng Tian Wu, who was inexplicably thrusting a sword at him. At this moment, the world in his eyes seemed to only contain this fiery red figure getting closer and closer. Even if the figure seemed to transform into a giant red beast in the blink of an eye, about to devour him, his expression and gaze remained unchanged, still revealing a gentle tenderness like water. Whoosh! Feng Tian Wu, whose face seemed covered with a layer of frost, swept her sword towards Duan Ling Tian's heart, as if intending to kill him with a single strike. However, her speed slowed down when she realized Duan Ling Tian made no move. But she was too close to Duan Ling Tian. Even with her slow movements, the sword in her hand had already reached a short distance from Duan Ling Tian's chest in an instant. Why didn't he dodge? Why do I feel a pang of pain when I draw my sword against him? Feng Tian Wu, who had seemingly transformed into a ball of flame and instantly arrived in front of Duan Ling Tian, felt an inexplicable tremor in her heart. At the same time, she felt a sudden panic and disarray. In a flash of lightning, her gaze happened to catch the sword that was almost touching Duan Ling Tian's heart, and she immediately moved the sword away in a hurry, wanting to withdraw it. Unfortunately, she was still too slow. The powerful momentum carried her forward, sending the sword in her hand into the purple-clad youth's chest. Uft! Blood splattered, landing on her body and her hands. Looking at the blood on her hands, she felt a heart-wrenching pain. It hurts. She released the sword in her hand, clutching her chest, her face blank, as if she had lost something in that instant. Helplessness and panic almost stopped her breathing. Why does my heart ache? Do I really know him? Why are his eyes so gentle? What is my relationship with him? Why didn't he dodge? Why? Feng Tianwu's beautiful face was deathly pale, and she lowered her head, muttering to herself, appearing somewhat lost. Bang! It wasn't until a loud bang brought her back to her senses. Young master. After kicking open the door, Xiong Quan's face changed drastically when he saw the scene before him, and he hurriedly flew in, instantly arriving in front of the swaying purple figure. Whoosh! With a raise of his hand, Xiong Quan pulled out the red soft sword from the purple-clad youth's chest, threw it on the ground, and simultaneously used his elemental energy to stop the bleeding. Fortunately, Xiong Quan breathed a sigh of relief when he found that the sword had entered a spot away from the heart, and the purple-clad youth was not in mortal danger. Cough. Duan Ling Tian, who had been staring blankly at Feng Tianwu as if he had lost his soul, seemingly unaware of Feng Tianwu's sword piercing his chest, finally stirred after Xiong Quan pulled out the sword. He coughed, and a mouthful of clotted blood spewed out, staining the ground and forming a dazzling red rose. Young master? Who hurt you? Xiong Quan's face darkened, his eyes filled with killing intent. At this moment, he seemed to have completely forgotten that Duan Ling Tian's strength was greater than his, and that anyone who could injure Duan Ling Tian was beyond his ability to handle. Soon, Xiong Quan got the answer. This answer left him dumbfounded. Why didn't you dodge? A voice devoid of any emotion came, causing Xiong Quan's gaze to shift and land on the red-clad woman not far away. Miss Tianwu, you're awake. Xiong Quan's eyes widened, his face filled with disbelief. Young master, you found the soul-stabilizing root and soul-fixing herb for Miss Tianwu? This Lu family is really something. They even have 2 heavenly treasures that you said were extremely rare throughout the cloud-soaring continent. Xiong Quan quickly seemed to guess something, and a smile appeared on his face. However, his smile soon froze, because he noticed the bloodstains on Feng Tianwu's hands, which made his face change involuntarily. Miss Tianwu, was it you who stabbed young master? If it were anyone else, he would have fought to the death to avenge his young master, even if he knew he was no match. But now this person was Feng Tianwu, his young master's woman, the future young mistress. Although he was angry, there was nothing he could do. Why should I dodge? Would you really kill me? Facing Feng Tianwu's question, Duan Ling Tian, whose face was pale from excessive blood loss, countered with a question. Feng Tianwu fell silent for a moment upon hearing his words. Looking at the man's pale face before her, her heart inexplicably felt a series of sharp pains, as if her heart had been torn in two. Even she herself didn't know why this was happening. Could it be? I really knew him before. But why can't I remember anything? No matter how much Feng Tianwu racked her brain, she couldn't recall anything about the man in front of her. Yet, seeing the man in front of her get hurt did indeed cause her an inexplicable heartache. This made her have to believe that this man and her former self had an extraordinary relationship. Feng Tianwu's hostility towards Duan Ling Tian vanished at this moment. Upon realizing this, Duan Ling Tian breathed a sigh of relief, a genuine smile appearing at the corner of his mouth. He knew that his decision not to dodge earlier was correct. At the very least, Tianwu's psychological defenses, after temporarily losing her memory, had been breached by him. This was the beginning of success. Now, Tianwu, after losing her memory, no longer rejected him. Soon, perhaps she would be able to fully accept him. And if he had dodged earlier, he would have certainly faced even more furious attacks from the amnesiac Feng Tianwu, and Feng Tianwu would not have stopped rejecting him as she did now. Young master, what kind of game are you and Miss Tianwu playing? Xiong Quan, standing to the side, saw Duan Ling Tian smiling even after being injured, and immediately felt completely bewildered. Xiong Quan, I only found the soul-stabilizing root in the Lu family, not the soul-fixing herb. Although Tianwu woke up after taking the medicinal liquid refined from the soul-stabilizing root, she seems to have lost her past memories of me. Duan Ling Tian briefly explained to Xiong Quan. Lost her memory? So that's it. When Xiongquan first heard Duan Ling Tian's words, he felt as if he was listening to a fantasy story, but then he came to his senses and understood with a sudden realization. This could explain why Miss Tian Wu, who was deeply in love with his young master, would attack him. It turned out that Miss Tian Wu had lost her memory. "Young master, what do we do now?" Xiongquan asked. "As long as we find the soul-fixing herb and refine it into medicinal liquid for Tian Wu to take, her damaged soul can fully recover. At that time, she will naturally remember everything from the past." Duan Ling Tian said. "That's good." Xiongquan nodded, relieved. He was genuinely worried that Miss Tian Wu wouldn't be able to recover and would then give his young master a couple more stabs. Duan Ling Tian and Xiongquan's conversation fell into Feng Tian Wu's ears, word for word. Why did I lose my memory?" Feng Tian Wu looked at Duan Ling Tian and asked. Now, although her face was still covered with a layer of frost, she no longer rejected Duan Ling Tian as she had before, which was evident from her initiating conversation with him. Hearing Feng Tian Wu's question, Duan Ling Tian couldn't help but recall that past event. For him, it was undoubtedly a painful memory he wished not to revisit. However, facing the amnesiac Feng Tian Wu, he still recounted everything in detail. He mainly spoke of how Feng Tian Wu, for his sake, had forcibly boosted her fire profundity, even to the point of causing the power of her fire spirit body to collapse. Of course, he also mentioned how, after he became demonized, he suppressed the rampant fire spirit body power within Feng Tian Wu, but it still caused severe damage to her soul. Then, he spoke of the events that followed. "So that's how it is. In the past, for your sake, I would stop at nothing, even my own life." Feng Tian Wu murmured to herself. Although Feng Tian Wu learned about the past from Duan Ling Tian, she had, after all, lost her memory. Listening to Duan Ling Tian recount the past was more like listening to a story, and it was impossible for her to be as close to Duan Ling Tian as before. However, even though she had become colder than before, she could still accept Duan Ling Tian and no longer rejected him. This point greatly satisfied Duan Ling Tian. At least, he didn't have to worry about Tian Wu trying to attack him with a sword again. Now, we just need to find the soul-fixing herb to help Tian Wu recover her memories. Without her memories, even if she knows about the past, she won't be able to return to her old self. Duan Ling Tian thought to himself. The current Feng Tian Wu was as cold as ice, completely different from her former self. Except for him, she wore a cold face when facing anyone, as if they owed her a lot of money. Duan Ling Tian felt quite helpless about this and tried to change her, but eventually found it impossible. In the end, Duan Ling Tian had no choice but to let her be that way. In a residence in the eastern part of the Liu family mansion. Whoosh! A swift figure, like a soaring eagle, descended from the air and landed steadily in the backyard of the mansion. In the pavilion in the backyard, a gray-clad young man sat at a stone table, holding a wooden sword in his hand, his face gloomy, lost in thought. "Young master, are you thinking about the young master again?" The newcomer was an old man, who, upon entering the pavilion, immediately noticed the wooden sword in the gray-clad youth's hand. "Old Guan, do you still remember this wooden sword?" The gray-clad youth twirled the wooden sword in his hand and asked. "I remember." The old man nodded, then sighed. "This was the wooden sword you personally made for the young master on his 5th birthday. Back then, the young master was very happy when he received this birthday gift." "Yes, in a blink of an eye, almost 30 years have passed." The gray-clad youth nodded.